This is a video for the Superman sequence. Today I'm gonna talk about this, what you call it, the evil personification of Superman, Clark Kent. You can see the picture here. Here's Clark Kent and here is the evil. Now, the reason I have to talk about this because it has a very significance in our real life struggles within every man. So in the movie, he may struggle through the influence of kryptonite, and somehow he becomes this opposite character of himself. Unfortunately, in a real life, no matter who you are, if you're a human, especially, there is two sides to every coin, to every person. Now, although in life we cannot see every person's double side images, nevertheless, through life we have always been known imprints of double images. Smiley face to frown face, yin and yang. But the reason Superman would have to go through this dark side of himself is there's many reasons and many benefits. As he is recognized being an ultimate alpha male, therefore he has to face various challenges. And although he may overcome various obstacles of defeating the villains or any bad guys or any abstracted things of the world challenges, but the ultimate challenge that he will face is within himself. Just in reality. In reality, we humans are very naive in evolving ourselves to become a better person. So as the movie portrays Superman facing the evil side of himself, it's very ironic that in a real life situation, every person eventually will succumb to facing his negative entity, his other side of characteristics. Now, there are many ways in which he will be confronted by this negative entity. One is being very aggressive in his nature of character, the way he pursues things in life, and the way he wants things to obtain things in life, rather than being patient and being obedient to laws and regulations. He rather wanna do things more aggressively. And when you enter into negative indulgence of the flesh, things of alcohol, narcotics, even womanizing, materialistic, you become very obsessed. And although the negative entities are not good and eventually will get you in trouble by legal system, but unfortunately to say, it is a necessity. If you are ever to become a better person or progress and evolve to become a greater individual, in wisdom to individuality of strength and power and well-being. And then you have to enter into the dark side. You must face yourself. And in life, there has been many iconic figures who portrayed in world image of an iconic heroics, but within their personal life, they were fighting demonic entities of mostly of alcoholism, like of gambling. A lot of heroic actors. I don't know, you guys, young people know about Lone Ranger, the character that played Lone Ranger. Even most famous soap drama character, Who Shot JR, in that character, his personal life, and most iconic of Superman. If you study Superman in their personal life, like Christopher Reeve within his tragedy, but before Christopher Reeve, there was George Reeve, who has committed self-destructive way of ending his life. And then there are other Superman characters that have befallen to personal tragedies. It is, although, I mean, facing the dark side of yourself, although we don't want to face it, but we have to enter that world, because it teaches the individual the value of life, the value, and also his ability and skills of himself in pursuing things. It doesn't matter if you're pursuing entrepreneurship, actor, painter, artist. A lot of artists are recognized to be befallen into the negative of himself. At first, when they're young, they're motivated, they're gung-ho. Like, I want to do this, and I want to achieve, and I want to help these kind of people, and I want to be the best I could be in this. Unfortunately, after a decade, for whatever reason, they didn't get their spotlight, they didn't get their expectations or whatever, and they will slowly, eventually progress into the dark side of themselves, and they become what you call a bipolar personality. They hate the world, they hate anything about people who succeed in life, they hate anything that is feel good about life, because they're fighting this evil of himself. Before that, they were all gung-ho about life. They want to be this, and they want to help this kind of people, and they want to be a great producer, they want to be a great artist, they want to be a great writer, they want to be a next entrepreneur of discovering a new vaccine for whatever. I mean, the list is endless. But after years and decades of just working and going nowhere, and not having the Mother Nature not giving them pathway toward prosperity, they will succumb to their self-indulgence of various things, not mostly of alcoholism. And however whether they overcome it or whether they self-destruct, unfortunately to say, it really doesn't matter, because there's so many, you're talking thousands and millions of people who are going through self-destructive lifestyle of addictive personalities, obsessive and compulsive needs and desires, and they can't get it, or they can't find a pathway, or if they did have it, it was somehow destroyed through their naivety of understanding and respecting their blessings and all that. I mean, this is, in the modern time, you'll mostly see it in, that's the thing about YouTubing, that you don't know behind their persona of this image of all looking perfect or great, enjoying their life. back behind what they're going through in their personal lifestyle of depression, self-pity, or whatever negative entity. In a movie, it's a very ironic how a movie portray or gives story scenarios of this superficial figure, but how closely it relates to the real people. Whether you're an iconic figure within the society or within you're nobody, but you're still going through this negative entity. The reason and why some people are going through it and some people are not, that kind of a question is in the hands of Mother Nature. But mostly it will be within the egotistical individuals. They want things and they can't have it. They can't find the access into prosperity. Some way Mother Nature, while other people have entered and obtained, and they cannot obtain for whatever reason. And unfortunately to say, every human will go through some kind of negative entity in a different way, shapes, and form. And while there will be many who will suffer it through their life, but some of them will overcome it and some of them will be destroyed by it. And however way it ends for the individual, whether productive to destructive, unfortunately to say, it really doesn't matter, because you're one grain sand among many on the beach. You're just insignificant within the mass population. So, unless you overcome your negative entity by however means, whether through friends, family, inspirational stories of others, however way you could overcome it, there is a reason for it. Number one, sinners or people who have endured negative entities of whatever form will become a better teacher, will become a better instructor to our future generations' teachings, rather than the righteous. Righteous people can never understand the sinners or condition of the flesh, although they may be accredited for their persistence and diligence of obedience, but they can never be a good understanding of others who are going through the negative forces of themselves. So, as movie portrays Superman facing his inner demons, in a reality, I don't know what to say, but to say that it will never end. There are always going to be new victims of this bipolar situation and circumstances. There's no end to it. And as long as human race exists, there's going to be thousands and hundreds of millions of people who are going to go through this negative entity of themselves for whatever reason. Most of it will be caused within their self-indulgence of being very aggressive in what they want in life. And by not getting it, or even if they did get it, through their aggressiveness of living life aggressively by not respecting their blessing, they will eventually be fallen to facing themselves. Human species, although the society and the righteous may criticize and condemn the people of the negative entities. Unfortunately, in life, you can't win. As long as you exist and you must evolve and progress of yourself, you must enter into the dark side of yourself. Because it teaches you the value of life. It teaches you things about something science cannot explain. The impossibility of surviving such journey of darkness. The rationalization of 1 + 1 = 2, if you think the right way, if you do this and do this and do this way and live like this, and life is not to naivety. That's how life is. But in a reality, life doesn't work out if you went to school, got good grades, and went to university and get a good job, and everything's gonna happen. Like in reality, it doesn't work like that. Most of them will. Most of them will live life through that progressive prosperity. They will live life blindly. So it's almost like living a life of destruction, dark entity, is almost like a blessing in disguise. Because while other people who may have this persona of this prosperity, living a life of the righteous, they're also blind. How sensitive life is. That you could die today, and you could die no matter what you do in life, what righteous way you live life. That you could just die, and you spend your whole life going the right way and just blindly live until you die. But if you face the dark side of life, you understand the value more closely, more intensely. That's why many philosophers of the past would often say, like, I wish I would endure more pain in life. I mean, personally, I would never recommend it, but often you hear philosophers say, like, wow, I was living life of blindness, because as they are facing homelessness, as they are facing demonic entity of themselves in whatever kind of addiction they're going through, they are finally recognizing, well, living life of family, friends, eating, association, and trying to prove myself that I am this and that, these things. He began to recognize that those things are worthless, because the fact that your mortality is right on the edge of life and death. You could be dead tomorrow, but you continuously live this life of feverish things. But unfortunately to say, that is the foundation of civilization. So we humans are always in a constant conflicts of indifferences. In the meantime, as we are going through the dark entity of ourselves, we will see everything in darkness. We don't want to see logical sense or believe in religious things or live this way, listen to proper speakers or inspirational. They don't want to hear none of that at the moment of their darkness. So whether the individual overcomes and defeats themselves and becomes a better evolved person, or whether they self-destructed, it really doesn't matter, because within the massness of population and amongst millions and millions of other individuals who are going through the same phases of life, journeys, one dies, 100 dies, thousands die in this self-destructive way, it really doesn't matter. So if I was to say a final thing about this dark entity of ourselves, no matter who you are, some of us just wake up a little late because we lived in such a passive lifestyle of security that we eventually, and we all will wake up at different time, but for sure, all of us will face it at some time in our lifetime. Some will start very young, as few years old. Some of them will start late, as when they're elder age. And to say when is the best time to face our dark entity of ourselves, unfortunately to say, it's all in the individual. But if you ever want to wake up early, if you want to be aware of life early rather than late in your old age, and then going through the dark entity of yourself, it's better to go through it when you're younger, I guess. Because if you could survive the journey, you would have older age to have stronger hold of yourself and become a better influencer toward others and understand others who are going through the same ordeal and helping them out in their need. So as humans continue to struggle in ideas, to indifferences of lifestyles, to characteristics, we are all in this life of existence together. And the more struggles and challenges you are faced with, unfortunately to say, it's better for you, especially if you are recognizing yourself as some extremist of knowing more, wanting to know more, of like philosophers of various things, artists. We humans want to pride ourselves to know things and to be stronger, to be more conditioned for the battle of whatever. Unfortunately, if you don't go through this dark entity of yourself, the greatest adversary amongst all other abstracted challenges, the greatest adversary, challenger, is within yourself. Because while other in the society, family, friends, whatever, sees you in some bizarre twilight zone of life where their logic of what is proper way of life doesn't make sense, but you're going the opposite in self-destructive. And the only way to come out of it is when you see yourself more than what you aim for in superficial things to egotistical needs. When you recognize self, that life is more valued in friends, family, and things like that than materialistic things, and then you will overcome your dark entity, the double dark side of yourself. If you continue to pursue yourself as the most important person in the world, and you are better than others, and materialist things are only better, these are the only things that matters in, and then you will self-destruct, especially when you don't have the skills and ability or discipline to obtain it. And whether you have those kind of skills or not, and even if you do obtain it, there is no end. So really, it's really better to self-destruct early than continuously endure. Because when you're in this dark entity, you're talking about decades. You're not talking about few years. You're talking about decades, 20s, 30 years. Why you continue to do the same monotony, stupid things in pursuing things? For what reason? So, to overcome yourself for whatever dark obstacles, challenges, entities you're facing and enduring, if you don't look within yourself in the value system of existence, of like family and friends and emotional connection of your grandchildren or children or whatever, when you can't see yourself, life is more meaning within that spectrum, you're never going to survive that dark entity. You're never going to survive yourself because you're too obsessive and possessed within the superficial world. So, as movie portrays Superman fighting himself, it is very ironic how within real life that has more profound effect in its trueness than the image it is portrayed within the superficial world. So, for today, I will have to end